Hello, everyone. Welcome back to SuppTalk Radio. So we are going back to the origins where we talk supplements, supplementation, and the overall industry itself. I am so honored and also so happy to have my guest on tonight. Showing my cards here, I've had to cancel on the poor guy twice, and he still gave me a chance because if it was me, I'd say this guy's probably a flake. But anyway, I am honored and humbled to have Spencer Lynn, Northeast Regional Manager of COS. Spencer, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having me. And no worries about canceling on me. I always kind of say my best ability is my availability. So I always try to make myself as responsive and available as possible, especially to, talk supplements, talk sports nutrition, health and wellness. That's what I love. So always happy to chat that anytime.
So before we jump into like some of your craziness about your marathons and whatnot, so Spencer, as a teenager, were you an athlete then? I mean, what was your entry point into supplements? Kind of let's start from the beginning.
Yeah, cool. I grew up playing sports my whole life. My brother and I think probably dabbled in everything when we were young, but I really focused on football when I got to like middle school, and then found the gym, found the weight room in like 8th grade, going into 9th grade, and just really started lifting weights hard after I saw what it did to my body, and then how that carried over to my performance on the field. I just became like addicted to lifting weights, addicted to health and fitness at that point. And then, from there, not long after that leads into supplements, right? I remember, being at the gym in my hometown and, waiting for my parents to come pick me up from the gym. You sit up front in the lobby and they have all the muscle magazines and everything. So, as a 14, 15-year-old kid, I'm looking through all these muscle magazines. I'm seeing the bodybuilders and looking at, the workouts they're doing. And then inevitably you see all the advertisements from the supplement companies at the time. And, back then this is like this is like 2005, 2006-ish. So like Muscle Tech was huge, BSN was huge, Animal was huge. So like, you see their advertisements in those muscle magazines. And that was really like my first introduction to the world of supplements. And then not long after that, it's, begging my mom and dad to buy some protein for me at GNC. And then that transitions to, okay, well, all the older guys on the football team are taking creatine. Mom, dad, can I take creatine? And they tell me no, because, I'm a 15-year-old kid.
They don't know.
Right, exactly. I'm a 15-year-old kid. It says on the label, creatine's not for anybody under 18 or whatever. But, you tell an ambitious, maybe a bit of a meathead 15-year-old kid no, well, that's not good enough. So there was a GNC about a mile from our gym. So my parents would drop me off at the gym. I'd get done with my workout. And instead of sitting up in the lobby reading muscle magazines, now I'm walking a mile to GNC, buying creatine, walking back, just sneaking it without telling my parents. Obviously the GNC rep's not supposed to be selling creatine to a minor, but I looked a little bit older probably. And then there were times too where he would tell me, no, get out of here. And I would wait out front and wait till, a 20-year-old guy walks by and say, hey, I'll give you $5 if you buy me some creatine. And so he'd walk in, buy the creatine for me and hand it to me outside. So, kids, a lot of high school kids do that outside of like beer distributors or liquor stores. So I was
going to say, so you got an interesting story.
I was doing it outside of a GNC. So that kind of just tells you a little bit about my mentality at the time. But so football is really what got me into the gym. And that's really what got me into supplements. I was actually a pretty good football player. Believe it or not, I used to be 230 pounds at my peak. So I was just a big old meat stick. I went on to play football in college. And then I actually played 1 year professionally over in Germany. Wasn't good enough to play in the NFL. Wasn't quite good enough to play in the Canadian Football League either. But there is a professional league over in Europe that is, if you remember NFL Europe. So there's that folded in like 2007, but there's still like the remnants of it over there. They kind of they have their own league now. It's called the European League of Football. Pretty decently legit football. It's not the NFL. You're not making NFL money. They gave me, they paid me $1,000 a month. They gave me a car to drive and put me up in an apartment while I was there. But it was cool. I got to live in Germany for 6 months and travel the world a lot. And I got to play another year of football. So I've kind of always been an athlete my whole life. And that is how I found supplements, sports nutrition, health and wellness.
So what made you finally step away from football? Did they cut you, or did you just wake up and say, I'm not going to go anywhere, or what? I mean, respectively, obviously.
It was kind of more of the latter. When you do play over in Europe like that, that's kind of the end of the line. I'm sure there might have been a handful of people that made it from Europe to the NFL or something, but that's kind of the end of the line. You're not really going to make it any bigger than that. So I kind of knew that would be the end of my career, my swan song, for lack of a better word. I got to go over there and have an awesome experience.
Definitely.
And I wanted to go out on my own terms too, right? Like I was able to stop playing, when I was ready. I didn't have to stop playing because I got injured. So yeah, I was kind of able to go out on my own terms. So sorry about that.
It's all good. I have flashbacks of when I hear your story about going internationally, like The Rock, obviously going to Canada. I don't know if you know The Rock, the actor, his whole story going to Canada, not making it, and now looking where he is.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. I kind of knew that would be the end of my career over there, and I was at peace with it. And when I came back to the United States, not long after that, I joined the Army. So that was kind of my next adventure in life. And then, that's kind of also how I got into like the world of endurance sports, right? So, being in the military, you obviously have to run, ruck, it's more endurance focused rather than like strength and power sports focused. So
as you said, I'll use your term, a big meat stick. When you come out of football, did you lean up or did you kind of just jump into the Army as a meat stick?
No. So yeah, I would say the 6 months prior to actually shipping out to basic training, I was running like a madman. I actually deliberately signed up for a marathon in that time frame because I knew that would force me to run to train for the marathon. So I kind of gave myself no choice. So I mean, I was probably 220 when I ended my football career over in Germany, and then by the time I shipped out to basic training, I was a much leaner, like 200, 205 ish. But yeah, I signed up for a marathon in that meantime, just as a forcing function to make sure that I'm going to be running. Cause it was funny when I was playing football at my peak. I could power clean 325 pounds, but I probably couldn't run a mile straight without walking. So just to, you don't need to be able to run a mile to play a football game, but it was just a very, very different type of athlete compared to what I am now.
So is that when you started maybe paying more attention to nutrition, where as a football player, I'm sure nutrition's not at the highest, well, at least at the college level?
It was pounding a lot of calories because I was trying to keep my weight up. So I was, just pounding like shakes. I would make, my own homemade weight gainer shakes basically. And it was pounding a lot of calories. And then obviously to lose weight, to get ready for the military, it was more counting calories than just pounding them in. So, yeah.
So did you go into like, did your mind get the best of it doing like a starvation diet, or were you actually more methodical? Like,
no, I was very methodical counting. Yeah, I counted my calories, tracked my macros. It's funny. I've always been like a pen and paper guy. So I literally had like a note card, and every day I would just, like tally everything up on a note card is how I did. I know there's like MyFitnessPal and a million different apps.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know, I just got satisfaction out of like physically writing it down on a note card and tracking it all that way. People used to think I was nuts because I would carry that note card around in my wallet. So I would just take out anytime I ate something, I'd take out my wallet, track it down. And
so how did you figure out what was work? Did you have somebody in your ear, or were you just kind of like, okay, I'm doing 2,500 calories today, I'm not losing any weight next week, and I'm gonna lower it? Like, what was your mentality for that?
Well, yeah, that's the other cool part of the supplement industry that I had always been a part of too, was I would say maybe right around the time I got to college. I found the bodybuilding.com forums, if you remember that. Place.
Oh, yeah.
I was always on the supplement forums. I was on the MISC section where all the craziness used to take place. So yeah, I was on the bodybuilding.com forums a lot, and that's really when I learned like the IIFYM, the if it fits your macros.
Oh yeah.
So there used to be a thread on there that had like every piece of information you could ever need about IIFYM and how to eat to manipulate your body to gain or lose weight. And that's where I learned how to do all of that, was literally on the bodybuilding.com forums. So that was the place to be back in the day.
There was that, and I used to frequent for the bodybuilding side on Get Big. I don't know if you've ever heard of Get Big.
I heard of it, but I was never on it. I just stuck to the bodybuilding.com forums. Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned that if it fits your macros, because a lot of people follow that. But I think sometimes people just figure, you know what, I got to do 50 grams of carbs today, so I'll just pound 22 gummy bears because that's 50 grams. And people still do that. They look at the bro science, not to knock that term, but the bro science of, okay, listen, if you really want to do it right, you should really be having your rice or your yams or something to get those carbs in. You know what I mean?
And the micronutrients too, right? If you're just going to pound gummy bears, where's all your vitamins and your minerals in that? Yeah.
So you did your first marathon. Was it what was expected, or were you like, what did I get myself into?
Man, it kind of was what I expected. Obviously, anytime you do like your first marathon is significant. It's just that you really don't know what to expect, especially when you come from a world of strength and power sports, getting into endurance. Like I remember, like, this sounds weird, but I remember thinking like, oh my God, like a marathon is insane. But now looking back, I think of a marathon and I'm like, I could knock that out tomorrow without even really training for one. Just because of the, just the way that my training and body has shifted since then. But yeah, that first one was tough. And I remember being wrecked for like a week afterwards. So, yeah.
Jeez. Because I have a friend that runs them occasionally, and I've never done even a 5K because I'm
Yeah.
the typical meathead that I'm on the treadmill for my 30 minutes, my cardio, my
Yeah.
low impact cardio. And she said, agree to disagree. She said if you can comfortably get to the 18 miles, like just when you're training, her threshold was 18 miles because she's like at that point the extra 8 is really nothing. So I don't know if you had that mentality, or if you had, if I hit a certain threshold, I'm good.
No, I would agree with that totally. I think in my training for the first marathon that I did, I think the furthest training run I did was 19 miles. And then obviously 26.2 the day of the marathon. So yeah, I would completely agree with what you said. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's jump into the absolute mayhem or the madness. Looking at your Instagram here, a 50 mile and a 100 mile.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Why?
so in March, in the middle of March, I did a 100-mile ultra marathon. It's called the Rabid Raccoon 100, which took place in Raccoon Creek State Park out here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And yeah, so it was a 100-miler. It took me 29 hours, like 20 minutes and some change. I finished 5th out of 47 people that started the race. 46 people started the race. 17 people finished the race.
Jeez.
So that's how many people dropped out over the course of the 100-miler. It, weather in Pittsburgh in the spring and March, it could be 70 and sunny, or it could be 15 degrees and snowing. And unfortunately that night it dropped down to 17 degrees and snowed overnight during the run. So the race started at, I think it started at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning. And then you run all day Saturday, all night Saturday. And then so Saturday night is when it dropped down to 17 degrees, snow flurries. My water bottle, I run with a water bottle on my kit. It froze solid. My shoelaces froze solid. I remember, getting to an aid station at around 6 a.m. on Sunday morning as the sun was coming up. I was probably, 85-ish miles in at this point. And my dad was my crew for the race, right? So he would meet me at the station, make sure I had food, make sure, I had an extra pair of gloves or change of clothes or whatever I needed. So I remember getting to an aid station around 6 a.m. as the sun was coming up. And I had just run all night through the night. And I remember thinking, like, my feet right now are pretty wrecked. Like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to take my shoes off, I'm going to change my socks because it's going to make my feet feel a lot better just from being in the military. Yeah, it's like a military thing. So I remember sitting down in a chair at the aid station, and I'm trying to untie my shoes. Well, my fingers are frozen numb at this point, so I can't really untie my shoes. Didn't think everything. I'm going to say, Dad, like, you untie my shoes, I got to change my socks. So my dad, he was sitting in his truck. He was all warm, but he couldn't untie my shoes either. He's like, Spencer, your shoes are frozen. Your shoelaces are frozen solid. I can't get them untied. So I was like, all right, screw it. Not changing my socks. Got up and just kept going. So, yeah.
Dude, so you literally don't, obviously you probably take a break here and there, but you literally run a walk for all 100 miles. It's like whatever your pace is, and you just keep powering through. You don't stop or anything?
No sleep over that night. There were aid stations about every 5 to 8-ish miles along the course. Yeah. So, you could get to an aid station and, there's a volunteer there with water, with hot, soup, with food. They'll take care of you if you're beat up, bandage you up if you need it, or wrap your ankle or whatever. But it almost became like a trap because, especially overnight, so cold and everything, you'd pull into an aid station, it'd be a nice heated tent. You can go in, you could sit down, you could, grab a bite to eat. Somebody's bringing you water, like they're taking care of you, right? Some people became like trapped at these aid stations where like, oh, I'm in here, it's warm, I can lay down. This lady's handing me food. And then they would just quit. They wouldn't go back out to finish. So like, I would really try to limit myself to like no more than like 7 minutes at an aid station. Just, get in, grab what I need, shove some food in my face, change my gloves, whatever, try to change my socks. That obviously didn't work, but refill my water bottle, whatever. But like, I tried to be in and out as quick as possible because I didn't want to get trapped and fall into that, that mentality of like, I'm not going back out there and just quit. I think that's why, so many people dropped out of the races. They just got comfortable at an aid station. So
how do you train for that though?
Yeah. So fortunately for me, I started training deliberately for this 100-miler about 6 months beforehand. So, in the fall is when I started training for it. And I forced myself to run outside all winter here in Pittsburgh. So, Pittsburgh winters are pretty brutal. So there were plenty of runs that I did in the snow, in the sleet, freezing temperature. So, that kind of acclimatized me to the rough weather. So that was definitely a big factor. I mean, all my runs were outside. I don't have a treadmill. I didn't train on any treadmills or anything. So I would, every night I would not every night. I would run about 4 to 5 nights a week when I was training for this. And so I would force myself to, go run outside all winter. And that definitely helped.
So did you just kind of sit up in bed one day and say, I'm going to do 100, I'm going to do a 50 mile and then clear that. And what the hell, I'm going to do 100 mile.
It's like the natural progression and I'm sure you can relate to this too, being into bodybuilding, right? Like, it's like, so I did a marathon. Like, what's next? What's the next thing I can do? Well, what's further than a marathon, an ultra marathon? So then I did a 37-mile trail run. Well, what's the next thing I can do? So then I did a 50-mile ultra marathon. And then after that, it's like, well, I don't want to do another 50-miler. I already did that. So 100-mile. I mean, that's the 100-miler is the limit. There is like a 240-mile ultra marathon out there, but that's almost like unrealistic at this point. So like the 100-miler is kind of like the end, I guess. But I've also done an Ironman triathlon. I've done a bunch of shorter distance triathlons, and I did a full Ironman as well. I did that back, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago at this point.
So is it done? Is it checked off your list now, or you want to do another 50 or 100?
I would probably do another 100 in the future. I'd also definitely do another Ironman in the future as well. Because are you familiar with Ironman triathlons?
Oh yeah, I have a friend that did. They call it a double Ironman, or I don't remember if it's a double triathlon or a double Ironman, where it's like double the distances for everything.
That's crazy. I've never heard of that. So a full Ironman is it's a 2.4-mile swim, followed by a 112-mile bike, followed by a 26.2-mile run. And you have 17 hours to finish it for it to be legitimate.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool event. Like they do them all around the world, really. And they usually try to do them in like nice, cool locations that are fun to travel to, just to make it, good scenery for your event. And then that way if your family comes, they have something to do. So the Ironman I did was actually in Panama City Beach, Florida. They have them in like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is a beautiful place. So they do them in cool locations. So I would definitely do another Ironman in the future, just because it's such a cool event. You could bring the family, they can have a vacation while you're, running and biking in a beautiful place. So yeah, I would definitely do that again in the future.
Again, I give you credit because, everybody thinks that whatever they do, not to disrespect anybody's listening and whatnot. Everyone's got their sports and they want to be great at it. Again, like I'm bodybuilding, but I cannot even put myself in the same level as you. Yes, there's a lot of diet, there's a lot of training, but bro, I can't even compare. I can't even imagine running 26 miles of what I feel like a week later.
Well, that's the cool thing about, health and fitness and whatever your sport or your hobby is. I say this all the time, everybody's running your own race. I did my 100-miler and I had somebody at COS say, oh, well, I just ran 6 miles this weekend and I felt accomplished until I knew you did a 100-miler. I said, hey, your 6 miles was just as important as my 100 miles. We're all running our own race.
It's true. Yeah.
And especially, I don't care if you do jazzercise or Pilates. If you're being healthy and active and influencing others to be healthy and active, it doesn't matter. Just literally just do it. Do something.
So from the athleticism side, is there anything else on your bucket list? Because you've accomplished a very good bucket list at a very young age.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and you mentioned young age too. So I've always said for years now, the ultimate item on my bucket list is to through hike the Appalachian Trail.
Okay. Yep.
It goes from Georgia up to Maine. It's like a little over 2,000 miles. But that's the ultimate item on my bucket list. But I always say I'm saving it for retirement. That way it gives me motivation to stay in shape for the rest of my life. Because you obviously have to be in good shape to hike that. So yeah, I'm saving that one for retirement.
That's awesome. Because I had a friend that did it like 3 years ago. He was, I'm going to say early to mid 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I'm just picturing like you're alone in the woods by yourself with a walking stick just going.
Yeah.
But he's telling me all these stories about how there's different points where people show up with food and it's like a little party and stuff. But then it was also interesting that like he would, whatever shoes he bought, would break down after a while. Like he went through 2 pairs, called the company, and the company was like, we'll send them to some random address. Like if you're in the Carolinas that week, we'll send them there. And then someone would bring him to the trail and swap out his shoes and keep walking.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Then I've got a cousin who's in his 20s. He's really young. He does that when it's whatever's on the West Coast.
Yeah, the Pacific. I think it's the Pacific Coast Trail, the PCT. Yeah.
So he's doing that one. I don't know how it compares and contrasts, but again, I wouldn't mind doing that. Just walking like by myself, nature, or even my wife, just nature, just doing it, bringing a backpack with you with a quick tent. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's the ultimate item on my bucket list. I'm saving that for retirement just to keep me motivated to stay in shape and stay healthy for the rest of my life. My dad's cousin actually he thru hiked the Appalachian Trail back in the 90s. And that was always kind of my motivation for doing it, was just hearing his stories, all the crazy stories of him doing it. So that was always the reason I wanted to do that.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, it's like a community. Like people that live in the community know, oh, there's a bunch of walkers coming, make your cookies and make this, and they just show up and just start feeding the walkers.
Yeah, and to your point, it's like the same community as like a powerlifting community or a bodybuilding community. Everybody's kind of in it together. They know the suck of it, so they're going to help out as much as possible.
Yeah. So you get out of the military, and then is that when you first entered Compound Solutions, or your first foray into supplement, like into the actual supplement?
The first real one, other than just kind of being a hobbyist, I would say. And that's kind of a cool story in and of itself, is that, and I believe you know Matt Nickerson. I think you've had him on the podcast. Oh, Matt's a good friend,
before.
So Matt is he was the one that opened the door for me into the world of like actually working in the supplement industry, and that's a pretty unique story. So my last 3 months in the Army, there's a program you can apply for called the Career Skills Program. And it allows you to obtain a civilian internship during your last 3 months in service to kind of help you bridge that transition back into the civilian world, because it is a hard transition for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I got accepted into that program. And then I was searching for an internship to do. And I had always been into supplements, always followed the industry just kind of as a hobby and for my own interest, forever. And I'd followed Compound Solutions on Instagram because I knew Teocrine, I knew Dynamine just from taking my own pre-workouts and everything. Yeah. And one day they had on their Instagram, they had Matt Nickerson do like a stories takeover where he controlled their Instagram for the day, and he was posting all kind of crazy stories and stuff at their headquarters. And I had always known Compound Solutions to be like a very buttoned up company. So when I see this big, tatted up, bearded up, muscular, big burly guy swearing on their Instagram and causing all kind of havoc, I'm thinking who the heck is this dude? He doesn't seem like he's he doesn't seem like he fits the Compound Solution, very buttoned up professional image. So I remember he did a question sticker on one of the stories. It was ask me anything. So So I figured out who he was. I'm like, oh, Vaso 6. Okay, I know what Vaso 6 is. I've taken pre-workout with Vaso 6 in it before. Okay, this guy's the patent holder for Vaso 6. He works with Compound Solutions. So I made the connection as to what he was doing. So I just straight up, shot my shot and said, how does somebody get their foot in the door in the supplement industry? And I was like, he's not going to respond. Compound Solutions has huge Instagram following. He's not going to respond to my question. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, I get the notification that, he responded with a video of him. And he did one of these. He was looking at the camera and he was send me a DM. So I was like, okay, let's jump down this rabbit hole and see where it goes. So I sent him a DM and I explained my situation, that I'm transitioning out of the military. I have an opportunity to do an internship. Is there anything I can do for you in Vaso 6, or is there any connections you might have? And he responded to my DM pretty quickly and said, I'm going to think this over and I'll get back to you in a couple of days. And I'm thinking again, he's not going to get back to me. He's just going to blow me off, whatever. No, I mean, true to his word, he got back to me the next day and he said, I don't have anything for you to do for me at Vaso 6, but email Kelsey at Compound Solutions. Kelsey's is on the marketing team at Compound Solutions. He said, email her and explain to her what you just said to me. So sure enough, kept going down the rabbit hole. That's what I did. I sent her an email, explained the situation. Kelsey emailed me back pretty quickly and said that she likes the idea. She's going to talk to the company's president and see if they can find an internship position for me at the company. And, one thing leads to another. I interviewed in front of, Kelsey and Kim, Compound's president, some other people at Compound Solutions as well. And they gave me an internship. I was, working mostly with the marketing team during my 3-month internship, but I also, got to dip my toe in the sales world there. I got to, pick the brain of Matt at Compound Solutions, Matt Titlow. So I got to, touch different parts of the company, which was awesome. And, just worked my butt off during that internship. And then fortunately for me, at the end of that internship, I did well enough and impressed the right people, and it turned into a job offer. So literally had a job right as I was exiting the military, right into a job at Compound Solutions. I started on the sales team there, just an account manager, but I kind of said it was I'm a football guy. So I kind of said it was getting drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Dallas Cowboys or something, right? Everybody in the supplement industry knows who Compound Solutions is. They're one of the legacy, ingredient suppliers, just a tremendous, history there and everything they've done for the sports nutrition industry. So man, I got like drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers right out of college. That's like what it felt like, getting to work for them right away like that. But I mean, one, all the credit in the world to Matt Nickerson for making that connection for me. I mean, I say all the time, like, I will always be grateful to him for just, taking a shot on some random kid, messaging him on Instagram, and look what it turned into. Just incredible. So yeah, that goes to show you like how great of a guy he is. He really cares about the industry. He cares about, helping people. He went out of his way to help me. And I know he is a very patriotic person too. So probably helped that I was in the military, and that's why he decided to, push me forward and give me a little help there.
Was the beard as tight as yours, or because it's going back to like 2 years maybe?
No, he had a big, he had a big beard. Yeah. And the craziest thing is, and still, and it's unfortunate, but still to this day, I've actually never met Matt in person, but we've both agreed that whenever we do meet in person, straight hug, like big, huge bro hug, like right off the bat. So I haven't met him in person yet, but one of these days, I'm sure we'll see each other, and I'm just going to run up to him and hug him, and he'll figure out who I am.
If you're ever bored, so I did a podcast with him. We've been chasing each other for years, because he does a lot of work with Apollo Nutrition, who's the brand I work for, and so we kind of connected. We even chased each other down for years, and he finally said, "Sean, I've got some time. Can we jump on a call together?" And like, if you don't know his backstory, I'd say spend an hour watching the podcast I did with him, and for as much as he was kicked and knocked down, he still got the whole lease on life. And I can't wait. I'm going to meet him in October, hopefully, and I can't wait to meet the guy myself.
Where are you going? Supply Side West?
No, so Apollo Gym up here in Jersey does a seminar every year. They bring in athletes, and it's just a good get together. And Matt went there last year, and I'm hoping he's going to be there again this year.
Okay, I was actually out in Jersey a couple of weeks ago for Supply Side East.
Okay,
and then I was also visiting some ShopRite locations. We just got into ShopRite. So I was visiting some of their locations, meeting with people, handing out samples, just kind of, spreading awareness for the brand and celebrating that launch. But actually, my buddy Jay is the VP of product at Animal, and he got J-Dog. J-Dog. Yeah, he let me, him and I got a lift together in the Animal headquarters gym. So that was awesome. But yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, that's right. Now that I remember that. Yeah, because Jay's another guy that I'm trying to get on the podcast just to talk supplements on the formulation side of things.
Yeah, he's a great guy. There's so many great people in this industry, and that's what's cool about it too. Like I love the industry, and I love so many of the people that I've been able to meet within this industry too.
Yep. So you spend some time over Compound Solutions, and then you move on, and now you're at COS for a couple of years now, I guess. Yeah,
I've been with COS for about a year and a half now, closing in on a year and a half.
So was there a big change in mindset? Because obviously Compound Solutions, the business model's X, and now you're at COS with a different business model.
Yeah, very different. I mean, obviously still a sports nutrition supplement, health and wellness industry, whatever you want to call it. But very different. I mean, sales is sales, but it is a very different type of sales, where Compound Solutions is business to business, right? Selling ingredients to brands and manufacturers. Where here at COS, it's like business to consumer. So my role at COS is I'm selling us into retailers that are, eventually selling to consumers. So like I kind of have to wear almost like a dual hat of sales, of thinking like, okay, how are we going to pitch our product to the category managers and buyers at, your Stop and Shop, your ShopRite, your Wegmans, but also make it appealing to the consumer as well. So it is a little bit different. I mean, but it's still sales is sales.
Give us for Spencer, for people that aren't familiar with the company, the brand, give us the quick elevator spiel of what they're about, how long they've been in business, things along those lines.
Yeah, so COS, we started in 2019, and we were pretty much entirely on Amazon and D2C. And then since 2019, we've migrated pretty heavily into brick and mortar retailers. We're chain-wide, nationwide in Vitamin Shop and Whole Foods. We're in about a quarter of the Walmarts in the country, and that's increasing. We're in Walgreens, CVS. And then here in the Northeast, ShopRite, Stop and Shop, Wegmans, Big Y, Weiss, Giant Eagle. And we're most well known for our plant-based protein powders. That's definitely our hero SKUs. We have our chocolate and vanilla do the best, and we also have a chocolate peanut butter and a blueberry muffin that are both really good too. And we also have other products as well, like our reds and our greens blends. And then we actually recently just launched like superfood single ingredients. So we got like a beetroot powder, an ashwagandha powder, acai powder, wheatgrass, spirulina, all of that stuff. So we are a health and wellness supplement brand, not necessarily like sports nutrition. Like we're not like your gym bro bodybuilder brand at all. We're more like your, just average person who wants to make healthy decisions, and is also busy and needs to be, tastes good and convenient on the go. So it is interesting, because I think my personal, I like animal, I like,
Sure.
there's more like sports nutrition niche brands, but it costs just a more broad appeal general health and wellness brand. I mean, you can
I
see
would
our
think
labels are on shore.
Yeah, I
One of
see that.
them.
I know.
Yeah.
Perfect product placement. Perfect product
Yeah.
placement.
Yeah.
So I would think though, again, with the plant-based, that's got to be skyrocketing. I mean, just in general, either
Yeah.
for people that just want something healthier or for people that have to go to that alternative because either they're lactose intolerant or maybe they have an egg
Mhm.
allergy or something along those lines that they're almost forced a little bit to go to the plant side. So I'm
Mhm.
sure sales are probably continuing to climb, I would think.
Yeah, plant-based is definitely very trendy right now. I would say the market is skewing higher, like more towards plant-based protein than animal-based protein. And there's several reasons for that. You mentioned a lot of them is I think that the average consumer associates plant-based with healthier. Now, whether or not that's true, that's debatable. But I think that's
Sure.
just the average consumer's connotation towards the term plant-based. And then also the price of plant protein hasn't skyrocketed the same way that whey has
Yes.
recently too. So that's another factor that's increased the sales of plant protein powder.
And how
And
was your
there's
meal?
also, I mean, a lot of brands too are for a long time, plant protein was bad. It tasted bad. It was extremely gritty. But there's, us and some other brands are starting to figure out how to flavor it better, how to cover up that grittiness from the pea protein. Pea protein is
Yep.
naturally very gritty, but we do a great job of covering that up. And some other brands are figuring out that as well. So we're making it more palatable and better tasting for consumers. I think that's also contributing to growth and popularity of plant-based.
I'll tell you the couple of samples that you sent me, and I appreciate that. I actually put in
Right.
because usually I start my day off with a cup of oatmeal and some kind of protein in it.
Yeah,
So
I eat that a lot too. Yeah.
I started adding yours that you sent me to it. I did a little bit more water, but it was still very,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. I like to make so the blueberry muffin is my favorite flavor that we have. It's so unique, but I like to make overnight oats with that a lot. So that's one of my
Do
favorite ways.
people so you're the first person I'm talking to in depth about plant protein.
Mhm.
How does it bake well compared to like a whey type product, or how's it on that level?
In my opinion, it doesn't bake as well as a plant-based product or as an animal-based product. Sorry,
Okay.
but it does, and this is another one of my favorite ways to use it. It does just because of the texture. It comes out much better when you try to make I make kind of like a protein ice cream with it, where I'll literally
Yep.
just put some ice cubes in a blender, some peanut butter, some oats, and then some of the plant-based protein powder, and just a little bit of water, and I'll mix it up where it comes out like a really great, like thick ice cream consistency. And it does that better than whey does. But I don't think it bakes and cooks as well as whey.
Got it. My treat now that I'm training is I was never a big Greek yogurt person,
Uh-huh.
but Oikos came out with this black label that's high protein, like basically no carbs.
Yeah, yeah,
And I mix that with a protein. It actually stays very fluffy, where some people make a sludge where they throw water in
yeah,
it, but it's still very soupy. But
yeah,
with
yeah.
this, it's just really, really good. And the macros are really, really good on it.
Yeah, the plant-based goes well in a Greek yogurt. It doesn't, but I don't think it does as well in a sludge either, because it's hard to like the grittiness of the pea comes through in the sludge a little bit. So
Yep.
I think a whey is better for sludge. I think a whey is better. And this is just all my opinion. I think a whey is better
Yeah.
for sludge. I think a whey is better for baking. I think the plant-based is better for like the ice cream that I was talking about, and I think the plant-based is better in Greek yogurt as well.
Interesting.
That's just kind
And
of my own personal findings of
and
years of
how are the
experimentation.
individual ingredients selling for you guys? Is that new to the market that you mentioned, or has it
Yeah,
been a little while?
it's relatively new. So we actually just got six of those SKUs will be going into Wegmans soon. Four of them will be going into Giant Eagle soon. I think there's four or five of them that have been in Vitamin Shop for a while now. The beetroot crushes it at Vitamin Shop.
Yep.
Whole Foods is just bringing in some of them as well. So yeah, they're starting to get some traction.
And I see, so I'm kind of tagging back and forth here. So you have something on here called Moringa. I'm saying that
Mhm.
right, leaf
Moringa,
capsules.
yeah.
Tell me about that. I've never heard of that ingredient, or I've never heard of that.
It's just kind of another general health and wellness product. The capsules, the capsules don't really do too well for us, to be honest.
Okay.
That's more of just a D2C play, so they're not really in distribution anywhere. But it's the single ingredient powders that have been doing well, that have been doing better.
But again, you're playing and again, look, I'm looking here too. So you also have a hair, nail, and skin,
Mhm.
which I know it seems to be very, very popular. I didn't look. Is it collagen in that, or is that more of like the actual vitamins and minerals
Yeah,
type of thing?
it's interesting you brought. It's more the vitamins and minerals. That's interesting you brought up
Yeah.
collagen, because collagen, it's not plant based. So we
Yeah.
actually haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, so we actually haven't like internal dialogue about that quite often. Is, well, we know how successful collagen is. We know that it does really well, but we want to stick to our our plant based roots. No, excuse the pun.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so we actually, we have had a lot of internal discussion if we want to do a collagen product. It's kind of still up in the air. But yeah, collagen would be difficult for us to, because it's not plant based. So
So is that kind of the motto of the company? Was the I guess president or CEO, was he or she go plant for her own personal reason or their personal reasons and blew out the company or?
now, again, so well, I guess to get into a little bit of the background of the company. So our two co-founders, they both hit it big in like the early days of Amazon, selling like a recording equipment and like
Oh,
electronic
okay.
equipment on Amazon. And then just in the pursuit of their business goals, they kind of let their own personal health slip a little bit. So,
Mm,
after raising families and everything, and then they decided they kind of wanted to make their health and wellness a priority again. They started, as they were starting to exercise more often again and more consistently, they kind of realized there were no supplements out there that were just meeting their needs.
got it.
And that's kind of how Cost was founded. Now, believe it or not, we actually only have, in the entire company, we only have one person who is actually vegan.
Okay.
But that's what we're in our marketing purposes. We kind of stick to the term plant-based instead of vegan, because
Yep.
I mean, if you added up my total daily calories right now, I'm probably plant-based by the specific definition of the word, is that more of my daily calories probably come from plants than it does from meat or dairy. So I probably am plant-based technically, but I still eat meat and dairy too. So like, I think plant-based is just a little bit more inclusive. And I also don't think it's too controversial to say that the average American would improve their health significantly by eating more plants, eating more fruits and vegetables, as opposed to everything else, the other, the garbage that the average American shoves in their mouth. So
Yeah, and I tend to agree with that. I think the term plant-based is more readily acceptable than
it's
truly giving it like that label of
vegan.
vegetarian or vegan or whatever it
Vegan
is.
has like, vegan can have like militant connotations where it's like you're either with us or
Bingo.
against us. Whereas like plant-based is, I mean, most people, most healthy people are probably plant-based to some extent. So
Yep.
yeah.
So what's your training like now? I mean, day to day, are you still running? You in the gym or like what's now
I've
that
actually
you've done
been,
the big one? What's your day to day or week to week?
yeah, it's a great question. I've actually been lifting a lot more lately, trying to get back to, I guess, my meathead roots a little bit. And I don't really know what the next fitness challenge for me is going to be. I go back and forth. Part of me wants to do another 100-miler at some point in the future, but another part of me is like, nah, let's go the complete opposite direction and do a powerlifting meet or something just to switch it up. But that's another cool thing about health and fitness, is that there are so many different things you can do out there. You can always give yourself a goal to stay active and to stay engaged physically and mentally, a new challenge to chase. That's
Yep.
another thing I love about health and fitness. Now I know you're training for a bodybuilding show. That's something that I've never done. I've never stepped on a stage. I think for me, all the credit in the world, all of the respect in the world for people that do step on stage. But for me, I've always been more about like, what can my body physically do, more so than like how it physically looks. I would almost feel it would be tough for me to like let somebody judge the performance, like let somebody judge my body as like the
I
sport.
know what you're
But all
saying.
the credit in the world for people that do that.
Yeah, because for me to kind of give you my background, so I competed back in the '90s, like small shows. I
Cool.
was not
Yeah.
like
Cool.
my goal was never to be professional and step on the
Right.
Olympia stage and stuff. Um, and then family kicked in, life,
Yeah.
college, everything else.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years, I keep talking about it, and every year I get some kind of injury, shoulder, hamstring, whatever. And then finally, like December, I said, okay, I feel good, I feel healthy, I'm gonna do it. So that's kind of where I am. I have a coach, professional coach, who's a professional bodybuilder,
Vinny
and
Galante, you said, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
that's
exactly.
cool.
So October comes, and as I say, you know what, I'm gonna bring my best, but it's more of so my wife can see it, my kids can see
Yeah.
it, to see that I
Yeah.
have one more in the gas tank, and whether it's I close the door and say I've been there, done that, and I look better now,
Yeah.
or I kick open the door and say, you know what, I got a little bit of the adrenaline rush, and I'll
Yeah.
do another one next year, and who knows? Who
That's
knows?
cool. Yeah. That's awesome. So you said your show's in October.
Yeah,
Where is
yeah.
it?
It's up here in Massachusetts.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what's cool, is to always give yourself a goal to shoot for, something to train for, something to motivate you to stay healthy and active. And especially, like you said, to show your wife and your kid, that's got to be motivating.
Yes, yes, and we'll see what happens. It's been difficult, but
Yeah.
again, it's a challenge, but it's good. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm over a lot of the humps now with the eating and everything else. Like I had a wicked sweet tooth,
Uh-huh.
which I've finally got cleared up. And for me, like the Greek yogurt is almost like my ice cream, my sweet tooth.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And it's like you said, once you get over the hump, it's easier. Once you break the habit of, the bad eating, now you can jump back on the
That's it.
bandwagon. You'll be able to sustain that longer now. Cool.
So now is your wife anywhere involved in any of your training, or is she like, honey, that's you. I'm not going anywhere near that 50 miles or anything?
No, yeah, she doesn't do anything crazy like that. Now she does work out, 4 or 5
Yeah.
days a week. She's very healthy herself. She's into biking a lot. She lifts weights too, but she's not one to do. I don't know, she doesn't really like competing that much, but she does definitely take care of her body, eats healthy. She
Awesome.
works out a lot. Yeah, so that's a great thing we have on the way too. Is we have a son on the way. He's due in September,
Yes.
so just kind of. From the start, we'll show him a healthy lifestyle and try to implement that into him for the rest of his life too.
And I know you mentioned, I think off air, you said 20 weeks and it's been smooth sailing for her so far,
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, completely smooth sailing. She's done great. I mean, she's still continuing to work out, not as hard as she was, but she's still lifting
Sure.
2 or 3 days a week, and she's walking a lot and biking a lot. We have a spin bike in the basement. I said we also live next to a bike trail here in the Pittsburgh
Okay.
area. So, I mean, in the summer, we do a lot of biking together just on the trail. So it's a way to, get a workout in and spend time together. But I told her, I was like, you're pregnant right now. You got carrying precious cargo. Just go on the spin bike in the basement. It's much safer that way. So, yeah.
So Spencer, you're going to love this. You don't see this, but people can actually listen and chime in. Okay. And lo and behold, I'll share it here. Our good old friend, Matt.
No way.
Spencer is truly as genuine a person as you could
Oh, man.
possibly have the pleasure of meeting. I feel this industry was starving for someone as dynamic as him,
Right.
leads by example.
Wow. Speak of the devil. Speak of the angel, really. Matt's definitely not the devil. Matt's the angel. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. And I don't know if you caught it when we were talking about you earlier, but whenever we do inevitably meet each other in person, you're just going to, I'm not even going to say anything to you. I'm just going to run up to you and give you a hug. And you're like, who the heck is this guy hugging me? Oh, it's Spencer. So just know ahead of time that it's Spencer giving you a hug, and don't swing at me or anything.
I think with Matt, Spider-Man had the Spidey senses. I think with Matt, it's the beard tingles, and he's like, "I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
Where's it coming from?"
Yeah. And another cool thing about Matt too, he played college football back in his day.
Yes.
And so we've actually, the school I played at was a Division II school. He also played at a Division II school. So just similarities between us is pretty cool.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
Matt's
obviously
the
the best business, the best beard in the supplement business.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head who even comes close.
So to come kind of full circle with Cost again, anything new and exciting that you guys are coming out with that maybe you want to share, R&D or followers of the brand that can look forward to?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to share all of the details, but we do have some cool limited time LTO, limited time offer protein flavors coming out.
Okay.
The plan right now is starting in June and releasing one every month for the rest of the year. So we have 6 in the pipeline, some pretty cool, unique protein flavors that there's maybe off the top of my head, there's maybe 1 or 2 other brands out there that do like really cool, unique flavors in the plant-based game. Now in the whey game, everybody's doing cool flavors, but in the plant-based game, there's, Ambrosia does some cool flavors. Ghost does some cool flavors, but I think in the bigger plant-based game, like where, our main competitors are like your Orgain, your Vega, they're just kind of their typical chocolate and vanilla, whereas we're about to do some really cool limited time offer flavors. And then the plan is of these 6 that are coming, the couple that do the best will then become permanent flavors. We might do some like retailer exclusives with them. So we got some cool plans in the works. Yeah, in September of last year, we were all together doing some a lot of taste testing with our flavor house. So we were doing like A and B sampling, and it was a great time. We got some really, really cool flavors coming. Yeah.
So are you close to headquarters? I don't know where headquarters is.
Our headquarters is technically in Santa Barbara, California, but I'm the Northeast Regional Manager, so I'm here in Pittsburgh. So yeah.
And when is the first unique flavor going to drop? Sometime next
June.
month, you said?
The plan is June. Yeah. So next month. Yeah, June.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then we'll have one a month for the rest of the year after that. So I'm definitely excited about it. Especially, oh man, the one flavor. It was cool because when we were doing the tasting, there was like one flavor on the docket that I'm like, I'm not going to like that one. And it ended up being like my favorite. So that one I'm really excited for.
So even though you're not on the other side of the world, your boss or whatever sending you samples to try on your own for feedback?
Well, no, when we did the flavor testing, we actually got together at our flavor house's office, and we were all together for that. So it was cool to also, be able to experience all that together. I mean, we were just sitting around this big round table and we're all like, just back and forth, and then, writing down our notes and everything. So that was a really cool experience to be a part of.
I've always wanted to be part of something like that with the different companies, because you always see the companies like sharing, round table and everything else. But I'm like, how bad is your palate like after 6, 10, 12 different flavors?
That part did get a little bit like you almost like burn out your taste buds, and then also like drinking that much plant protein powder at one time too. I mean, it was like literally a whole day's worth of like just drinking plant-based protein powder. So it was a lot of calories that day.
So Spencer, as we wind down here, you're a Pittsburgh guy. I saw the Steelers stuff on your Instagram. Are you a hockey fan at all?
Yeah, I am. Big Penguins fan. Steelers and Penguins. I don't follow the Pirates because they've been terrible. Although this year I do know they're actually on fire right now. We'll see. I'm skeptical. We'll see how long it lasts because they've won exactly one playoff game in my entire lifetime. So I'm still I'm not on the Pirates bandwagon yet. But yeah, diehard Steelers and Penguins fan for sure.
Okay, because I'm a Penguins fan too. Cool. Pride and Prue.
That's strange. Being up in the New England area, you're a Penguins fan.
So I was born and raised in New York, which even gets it crazier.
That's even crazy.
So I hated the Rangers, hated the Islanders.
Oh, wow.
And I started following them when Lemieux was hot. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump on this guy's bandwagon. And I've been with them since 85.
Okay.
Broke my heart this year, whatever it was, 15, 16 years in a row. They made the playoffs.
First year they missed the playoffs, yeah.
So this year, my family in Vegas, and I'm going for the Vegas Knights here. So I think it's actually going to be the Bruins and the Knights. The Bruins are on fire. I hate them, but the Bruins are on fire.
Yeah. But yeah. My dad used to have season tickets to the Penguins before I was born. And then, when I came along, he kind of had to give those up. But back in, I think it was the year they beat the Sharks, 2016, maybe 2015.
Okay.
But it was the year they beat the Sharks in the finals. Me and my dad went to Game 2 in Pittsburgh, and the Penguins won that game in overtime. And to this, I got chills just talking about it right now. I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
But just that game-winning goal in overtime, being there with my dad and experiencing that was one of the coolest sports moments of my life. The place went nuts. I thought I thought the roof was going to blow off the arena. It was crazy.
We'll see. I don't know if they just need a facelift, because I feel like a lot of the people they have they've still got that core team for many, many years. I'm like,
Letang, Malkin, and Crosby.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a funny story on this. So back when they won in 2009, I had a good friend that was going on business to Pittsburgh. And this was like the day after they won the cup that year. And I said, look, do me a favor, pick me up a newspaper, please. And just, send it to me. Okay. So she sends me a newspaper. I open it up and there's a signature on it. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I'm looking at it. It's Chris Letang.
Oh.
And I said, how did you get this? She's like, he was on my airline, my plane going back to Boston.
What?
Visiting family. And she says, hey, I got a good friend that's a big, big fan. Can you sign it? So I'll have to send you a picture of it. I have it mounted with his big a hockey card and everything else. That's like my highlight.
Cool. That's cool. Your friend hooked it up big time. That's really cool.
Oh, yeah. She surprised me. She's like, I did better than that.
Yeah. Well, man, you're up there in Boston wearing Penguins gear. You better be careful.
Yeah. You know what? But I'm even funnier thing. So I'm a Mets fan. Okay, so I get looked at cross-eyed. Yeah, because Red Sox fans are ravenous, but I'm like, look, I'm not a Yankee fan. Be mad at the Yankee fans. I'm a Mets fan. We have no impact to you guys whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, and I'm also a Dolphins fan. So I have no claim to football for 30 years.
You're all over the place.
Yeah. Don't ask me about that either. I'm like I'm the antagonist for all sports teams.
Yeah.
But Spencer, it's truly been a pleasure, my friend. Is there anything maybe we haven't touched on? Anything else? Otherwise, I'll let you get on to your night, my friend. It's truly an honor and a pleasure.
No, I think that's it. Just thanks a ton for having me on. Always happy to talk supplements, sports nutrition, health and wellness, and I'll definitely be following along on your bodybuilding journey here. And I'm rooting for you, man. You got a new fan in your corner for that, so
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I respect the heck out of that.
We can't get off without giving a quick shout out to one of our mutual friends, Brandon Ballo of Wiley's Fitness.
Yeah.
Wiley's Finest. I'm sorry.
Wiley's Finest. Yeah. Wiley's
Finest. Yeah. Another great guy. He did a podcast last year with me, and I know you guys know each other from the circuit, I guess. And
yeah. We met at an expo in Columbus, Ohio. It's called the Maho Expo. It's kind of like, just a retailer expo. That was the first place we met, and then we ran into each other at the Arnold this past year. So yeah, Brandon's a great guy.
Oh, you went to the Arnold a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Oh, I should say.
Yeah, back in beginning of March. Yeah.
March already. Yeah. Well, Spencer, let everybody know where to follow you, personal, business, everything else.
Yeah. You can look me up on LinkedIn, just my name, Spencer Lynn, or Instagram or Twitter at slyn46. Pretty easy to find, really easy to get a hold of. Always happy to talk supplements, sports nutrition, health and wellness, my crazy, 100-mile ultra events, all that stuff. Always happy to talk about that stuff.
I have the utmost respect for you. I know people are going to listen to this and watch this on the replays going, this dude did 100 miles. Is he crazy?
Yeah, probably a little bit. Yeah.
So, but for me, folks, quick announcements here. On Wednesday, tomorrow, we have Bill Scarnati on the Masters Muscle podcast, one of Vinny Galanti's longest time training friends. And then starting Monday, I have a new podcast called Road to the Masters Olympia. Where I'll be speaking with different athletes that have been invited to the Masters Olympia in Romania. And this Monday, we have 212 competitor Ryan Walters. As always, thank you so much, folks, and have a great rest of the night and a great week. Take care.